Alright guys, this is going to be basically an intro into modifying XML files in SnowRunner, um, creating basic modifications of the existing vehicles in the game. It's not really that hard to do. Um, I figured it out in a few days. Used Discord for some help, Facebook groups. Um, so this is a very basic intro on how to do it. You're going to need WinRAR, which is this window right here. You can't use 7-zip or anything like that. You have to use WinRAR. So you get into WinRAR, you go into C drive or wherever your program files are, Epic Games, I got SnowRunner folder, whatever your localization. I got English US. You're going to go to preload, packs, client, initial. Okay. I can close this other window. You're going to go to media and classes. Now, this is pretty much where everything is for what I've done so far in my um, tweaks of in-game trucks. Alright, so first thing you want to do really is on your desktop, if you're going to start doing this, make a show you, open up a new window. I go to my desktop. Right here you can see I've got a mod XML folder where I store modified XMLs. I've got a save backup, and then stock XMLs, which I have individual XMLs, and then right here you can see I have the entire initial .pack backed up. So I highly recommend you create some separate folders to keep everything separate. And then you can use them to copy paste stuff or recover, revert back, whatever. Okay, so you've got WinRAR open, you're in the initial pack, you're in the classes folder, and this is where we're going to start modifying a truck. So we're going to go to trucks. Now these folders all say tuning. Those are where specific vehicle add-on XML files are located. So if we go into Chevy tuning, this is where all the XML files that control all of its specific add-ons for this vehicle are located at. So go back up. So I'm going through, we're going to do the van, the Russian van thing today. I believe it's this one. So I'm going to copy to clipboard, go back to desktop, stock XMLs, paste. Alright, so now I've got it there. I'm going to go into my mod XMLs. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder for this new, I don't know what I'm going to call this one yet because I already have a crawler con, but oops, I'll do crawl con van. I don't know. And we're going to paste it. So now we can edit this one all we want. Or not. Where'd it go? Paste. Okay, it disappeared. No big deal. Let's just do it again. Con. Copy to clipboard. Okay, there it goes. I don't know where it went before, but there it is. So now we have, this is basically my mod folder template I'm going to use. Okay, so we're going to edit, but what we're going to concentrate on right now is the simplest thing. We're going to go to, so in WinRAR, we're going to back out. We're going to go to suspensions, and we're going to get the appropriate suspension file. Here it is. Copy file to clipboard. Paste. Okay, so now I have another window open that you've seen. This is in the My Documents. Go to My Games, SnowRunner, Base, Mods. Okay, here's all the mods that I've been working on so far. I'm going to create a new folder. It's going to be, you can't have spaces in these names. You can do uppercase, but you can't do spaces. So we're going to do, just for consistency, lowercase crawler underscore con underscore van. Okay, so now I have to have, so let's go into one folder I've already done. Let's do the Don71. So you have to have a classes folder, and then the subfolders for the classes of XMLs that you're editing. And they have to match the names used for the folders in the initial .pack. So I need a suspensions with an S folder, and I need, so we go to classes, so I need suspensions and trucks folder to put my XMLs in for the game to see them. So let's back out. Let's go into crawler con van, folder, classes, folder, trucks, new folder, suspensions with an S. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to my mod XML desktop folder. I'm going to take the con loaf, whatever. I think that's its nickname, right? I meant to copy it. I keep doing that. Keep click dragging, and then we'll paste the copy in suspensions. Let me make a copy of this real quick. Put it back in here. Okay. So we can pretty much close that window now. We have our mod folder. Alright. So let's minimize these. Let's back out of this real quick, actually. It's just because some people don't even know this, how to get to this. So we'll go to main menu. Alright, so for the main menu, we're going to click on mods. In the bottom right, there's a select map function. Select map. Select one of the testing grounds. There's a winter and a summer. I just use the summer. Okay, now we're going to go to mod manager. I don't recommend using add mod, because if you add mod, you can name it and then it loads an entire template of stuff, and you don't need all that for what we're doing. It takes time. You have to convert it every time you change something. You have to convert the entire mod folder for the game to recognize the updates, and it takes forever. If you're just doing XML edits, which right now that's about half the stuff or more on mod.io, because it's easy. You guys are going to see it's pretty easy, relatively. If all you're doing is that takes, it's like instant. So we've already created the mod folder. We don't need to go to add mod. Don't do that. That's going to create a bunch of crap you don't need. We're going to go straight to mod manager, crawler con van. It already sees it, and it says it's already converted because it's just XML files and there's nothing wrong with them. But we can hit check mod, please wait, check the folders, nothing, no errors, so it's good to go. So we're going to close. We're going to go to create. Where is it? So I didn't actually change the name of the XMLs, so it's not actually going to say crawler con van. It's actually going to say, so it'll show you here. Okay, so here, so you have the stock con loaf, or LO4F. I don't know what the Cyrillic or Russian, whatever acronym there. So now, but then I see conloaf, crawler conloaf. So that's how I know that's my mod folder. We're going to add it. We're going to remove the Chevy. We're going to jump in. Oops, I just double added that. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. There we go. So here's our Loafy van, right? So let's drive into our testing track so you guys can see. I've never actually driven this vehicle before in the game. I haven't even gone to Russia yet, so, but I'm actually spending a lot of my time working on these tweaks, these suspension tweaks for everything. See, oh, look how bouncy that was. This thing definitely needs some adjusting. Pretty sure all the Scout trucks do. So I'm kind of getting an idea of what this thing drives like, how bouncy it is, which is our goal here today, to fix that. Ooh, she's a little, stock configuration, this thing's a little anemic, isn't it? Blinding sun. Come on. Might edit this out to save some time. We're already at 12 minutes. But I'm showing you guys how to get where you need, how to make the backups. Okay. So real quick, let's just see what this thing drives like. Ooh, whoa. Oh man, look at that. Oh. Okay, so we don't need to do any more of that. We can already tell that this thing has a violent suspension. Good grief. Okay. So, let's go to Mod Manager. CrawlerCon van. Open. It'll open the folder. Just take me straight to the folder, open it. I see what I've created already. Now, you don't actually have to use the open. You can have the window open regularly from Windows Explorer and still do this, but this takes you straight to where you need to go. Alright, so let's look at this suspension file. I have not looked at this one. I use regular Notepad. Works just fine for me. I guess there's a Notepad++ that some people use. Okay, so suspension. Okay, so now we see there's a bunch of tags. Okay, templates include trucks. All right, suspension variants, suspension set. And then you see in between the suspension set open tag and the suspension set close tag is the default. All the parameters for one suspension set. Tells you the type of template, normal, the damage multiplier, critical damage threshold, damage capacity. I haven't really messed with damage multiplier or damage threshold. I don't. Honestly, some people, there's some inconsistencies with the damage modeling in game, but it's really not that bad. Like, you really don't take a lot of damage. Or at least not when you should take damage, and sometimes you take damage when you don't think you should. Alright, so that's some parameters for suspension. Then we get suspension. Okay, open tag, close tag, but wheel, if you see at the bottom here, it says front. So this is wheel type front. So this is the front, basically the front axle suspension. Damping, 2.3. That's actually, I did the Don 71 last night. It literally had no damping parameter at all. So I don't know what the game does if there's no set parameter. I don't know if it's set automatically to 0, which it seemed like it was because it was a pretty rough ride. This was a really rough ride too. From what I've seen, most trucks are point 0.2 for damping, maybe point 0.3 so far on Scout trucks. This is horrendously low. Uh, okay, broken suspension max basically means the height of the suspension once the suspension is broken. It basically drops the suspension to point 0.2 height. Okay, or or something like that. Anyways, that's the broken suspension. I don't mess with that. Height, stock height, 0.16. The strength, 0.6. That is really stiff. That is extremely stiff for a Scout truck. Suspension min. So there is a suspension max tag. I've only played with it a little bit, so we're not going to get into that right now. But suspension min is basically how far the wheel will tuck up into the wheel well. So it's basically upward movement. How much upward movement is there in the suspension? Suspension max is supposed to set the maximum drop of the suspension, but so far only modifying suspension min seems to do what we want. Um, so again, that's one of those things where I don't know what the game does when there is no parameter. I don't know. Does it just max it out? I'm not really sure. So it's something to play with. But I haven't actually used it yet in any of my mods, and all my stuff seems to work, or my tweaks of these vehicles, and this all seems to be working fine. So point 0.3, pretty standard, not very far. Um, and then wheel type front. So that identifies this is the front suspension. So we have our next suspension tag. Damping is slightly different, 0.22. So it's like 1/100th stiffer. Because lower on damping is stiffer, higher is softer, basically. Yep, same. Height is lower. Interesting. Strength is 0.08. That is insanely stiff. Suspension, man, same. Wheel type rear. Okay, and then we have game data. So we have its price in the shop. Is it unlocked? Do you have to find it on the map? No, because this is default suspension, so this is false. Is there a rank requirement? Level 1. No. It's a default suspension, right? The UI description. So what you're going to see in the shop. So the UI description, okay, so it has this funky name, UI underscore suspension. So the stock things in the game have UI tags that reference something, somewhere there's a reference, it'll pull up that reference and use that. When you're trying to name custom stuff, you can't put you can't just put default, replace default with stock, and if you change that, if you change this tag, it will literally show up in the shop as UI underscore suspension underscore stock underscore description, or because there's no that tag that we just made. There's no reference for that in the files, so it's literally going to say what we just typed in the shop. It's going to look ridiculous. Um, Unfortunately, there's a lot of mods out there that are not renaming stuff properly, so it kind of looks bad. It only takes a few seconds. So if we wanted this to say stock suspension, we would just literally put in stock suspension, and then the UI name should match stock. Now, have discovered we did just have an update today, so I haven't tried this, but um, so far, for some reason, if you change the names and UI description, you actually have to close the game and reload it for these names to take effect. So if I went to the garage right now on this test map, it would still say, whatever, the normal stuff. Okay, so this car also has a high suspension. Okay, so it has 2 suspension settings, default and high. That's average. Some vehicles have 3, stock. So let's do our first editing other than the name. let's go damping. 0.6 is a good setting for all scout trucks. So it's a much better setting. Okay, so let's go to strength. 8 is extremely high. Let's drop it down to 5. And the front we'll do, so I drop down the rear, that's 3, basically 3 ticks. We'll do 3 ticks in the front. So there's still a variation of 2 between the front and back. Alright, so all we've done is damping and suspension strength. Save the file. You don't even have to close this. I'll just minimize it. And then minimize this window. Go back in the editor. Make sure we're selected on crawler convan. Check mod. It's going to re-verify that the files are still legit. It was good. Nothing happened. Close. The mod.io guide does recommend hitting reload, but I've found that most of the time just hitting check mod updates the vehicle to the new parameters. But ooh, did we sag in the front? Oh damn, I should have paid attention. Usually this is where I pay attention to how the vehicle sits. Alright, I can't remember if it was leaning forward or if it was perfectly level. Alright, so let's go on a short little test run. Okay, already that's better. It's still bouncy, but there was no violent bucking, right? So we can already we have instant feedback editing this way. If you're trying to edit this file inside the initial pack, you have to close the game. Sorry, video just finished compiling or rendering. You have to close the game client and restart the game every time you change the initial pack file. So making mod folders to modify the XMLs you want to mess with is much better because you get instant feedback. And then if you're just doing this for yourself, then you can take those XMLs out of the mod folder and using WinRAR. So let's open up WinRAR again. So you would open up WinRAR, open up your folder. So let's say I edited this suspension the way I want. I can copy it. Okay. Where's copy? Go into WinRAR, go into suspensions. And I could go and basically paste it, or I could just, well, what I normally do is I just click it and drag it over, and WinRAR will replace the existing file with your new file. So then when you load the game, it's not a mod. You actually modified the base game, and this van and the game will have the new suspension. It's not a mod. The game doesn't see it as a mod. You literally just edited the base vehicle in the game. There's some issues with editing the initial pack, though. Any update to the game is going to, the Epic launcher, whatever, is going to basically re-register your game files. So any edits to the initial .pack are going to get erased. Guy I've been talking to, working with on Facebook, we've been going back and forth about this because we're learning it at the same time. He just asked me that today. He was like, "Oh, there was an update and all my stuff's gone." I was like, "Yeah, well, that was gonna happen." There can also be issues with online stuff, but most people are saying that that's kind of how you get mods to work or tweak to vehicles, because we're just tweaking existing trucks. We're not really making mods. Like, these are not brand new trucks, so we're just tweaking to get tweaked vehicles to work in multiplayer. If you do it in the initial pack in your base game file, apparently that works. But if you turn on your mods and then you try to join a co-op game, that doesn't work yet. So people are complaining because they can't use their mods in multiplayer. But if you're just using a tweaked vehicle and you want to use it in co-op, apparently you can just do it in your initial.pack file and it'll work. So probably because you're basically all you've done is rearranged how um, normal game assets function. Like you didn't actually add anything new that the players, the other players in your session, technically they don't have anything different because everything's all your XML files will still be named the same. You just change the values. Now, if you change the name of if you change the name of an XML file and you introduce a new XML file into your initial.pack, I don't know if that works on multiplayer. I don't know specifically. But so to go real quick, let's recap. We're almost at 30 minutes. Um, you need WinRAR to access the initial pack and pull out the XML files you want to edit. Make backups of everything. You could make a backup of your whole initial.pack. It's not very big. These are all very small text documents basically. So you can back up the whole initial pack if you want. Then make a folder for where you're going to modify the XMLs to store those in case something happens. And then go in, make your mod file. So in your My Games documents, My Games, SnowRunner, base, mods. Make your mod file. Make sure you have the proper folders. They're named properly. Classes. There's a lot of plural folder names. Classes. And then you need the class folder, corresponding class folder to each XML that you've edited. So we didn't actually edit the truck yet, but so we created a trucks folder for our base truck XML file and the suspension. Now, as soon as you rename a truck, so if I rename this truck, there's one thing. If I give it a custom name, I can no longer paint it in the garage because I've changed the name. And I'll show you real quick. Customization presets in the classes main folder. It's one master customization preset that has every color and paint information for every vehicle in the game. So when you make a custom named tweaked vehicle, basically what you have to do is you have to open this up. You have to find Control F, like here's the top ones, Ford CLT 9000. So if I had edited the Ford CLT 9000, I would have to copy, and you got to get this truck set at the top. You got to get that tag. I have to drag down, which can get tricky because sometimes you pass. I got to find the end of the Ford CLT customization settings. Whoop, there it is. Okay, so there's that closed truck tab. I have to copy this, paste it in a new notepad document, and then make sure you got to have the closed truck set tag at the end of it. So then what you do is, if I say that I would call this I'm doing a Super Ford CLT 9000, then I would change the truck name to Super Ford CLT 9000 in my new notepad document. I would save that as an XML file, and I would name it Ford underscore CLT 9000. You don't name it customization preset. You name it the name of the truck that you're using. And then I'll show you. Let's go mods, crawler con, classes, custom. So you have to make a customizations underscore presets folder. Oh, it is customization preset. I'm sorry. Yeah. So it's customization preset, but you have to rename whatever your custom name is, has to be right there, truck name. Um, so that's the very basics of editing XMLs in SnowRunner. Okay, so WinRAR, gotta have WinRAR. Use Notepad, or I guess Notepad++, and make sure that whatever you edit, you have the right folder, subfolders in your mod folder, and you put everything in the right place. Oh, also, okay, if you get so you go, you change something, crawler convan, you hit check mod, it comes back and says see error log. Okay, it doesn't tell you where that is. So let's open up a folder again. You're gonna go to your My Games SnowRunner folder, base, logs, legacy log. Okay, here is where your errors are gonna pop up. Let's see if we can find anything. So it's telling me it can't find localization files for my mods. Don't need them, whatever. Not a big deal. So how far back does this go? I was having a problem where cannot open mod. But this is where I'm trying to find. I guess this thing refreshes every day. So I was having an error where my con marshal was not finding the suspension file. I'd messed up somewhere, a typo, whatever. So I went in the legacy log and it told me cannot find suspension default for con, crawler con. You know, that's basically what it said. I was like, oh, I messed up something with this suspension naming convention. I messed it up because the game was referencing the truck XML to find this suspension, and then my suspension XML was not named exactly the way it was for the truck to find it. So legacy log in your My Games SnowRunner folder, logs folder, is where you can find your errors. They're not always super specific, but that's where you find it. Alright, so I think that's basically it, guys. That's a very rough introduction to editing XMLs. This is how I'm basically rebalancing all these vehicles' suspension. So we'll do, I guess, another video because we're already at 33 minutes. But we'll do another video with actually going into more detail later. All right, so see you guys later.